In this video, we are going to look at measures of central tendency, but specifically finding what's known as the mean. It's also called the average. Now, we have three measures of central tendency, and we'll briefly review the other two, but then we'll really focus in on what is the mean and how do I find it. First, let me give you a situation. Imagine there's a party where you have some children arrive, and each of these children brings some candy to the party. Now you can see from this picture that there are all sorts of different amounts that these kids brought. I have 6 kids, and the first kid brought 5 pieces, the second kid brought 4, the next kid brought 2, and then there was another 4, and then this kid didn't show up with any candy, and then there was one kid that had 6. So everyone has a little bit amount. So when we try to find central tendency, we're looking for what is typical, what's average, what's in the middle in terms of what these children brought to the party. Now, obviously 6 is not what's average or in the middle, right? That's the maximum, and 0 isn't what's average either or typical. That's the minimum. But the average or the median or the mode, which are the other two, are always going to be somewhere in the middle of the pack. So let's take a look. Now, the first measure of central tendency is what is called the mode. The mode is the most popular, and you can see 2 of the 6 children bought 4 pieces, so the mode here is 4. The mode is the simplest to figure out. You can have more than one mode, and you can have no mode if there was nothing that repeated in a data set. Another measure of central tendency is what's called the median. The median is the middle value, but first, in order to find the median, you have to reorder everyone from least to greatest or greatest to least. It really doesn't matter, but once they're in order, then you can find the middle value. Now, in this case, I have 2 middle numbers, so normally you would try to find what's in between those numbers, or you could average those numbers by adding them and dividing by 2. But if both numbers are the same number, then that number is the middle value. So in this case, the median amount is 4, which was the same as the mode. So both the mode and the median are the same number. So let's take a look at one, which the final measure of central tendency is the mean. And the mean is the average. I'm going to tell you how we find it and try to show it through this explanation so you understand what is happening when you're doing the mean, because the mean is the most complicated of the three, but it's also the most commonly used measure. And I'm sure you've heard average before. So the way we calculate mean is we take all of the children's candy and we'll just dump it into one big pile. So we took everyone's candy and we just put it into a pile. That's really adding all of the numbers up. So if we add all of the candy up that each children bought, we get a total of 21 pieces. So that's the first step to finding mean, is you want to just put everything together or total it all up. Now, distribute that candy. We're going to redistribute that candy to 6 children. So if I break that into 6 equal groups like I just did here, and then hand it back out to the children, it's the same thing as dividing by 6, by the way. So I took 21 and dividing it into 6 groups. That each child gets 3.5 pieces when I do that. So we added it all together, we put it in a big file, and then we redistributed it out. So first we added it together, then we divided by how many children there are, which in this case was 6. And each child got 3.5 pieces, so the mean is 3.5. And you'll notice that the mean is lower in this situation than the median and the mode. The median and the mode were both 4, but the mean was 3.5. So why was it lower? At the beginning of the data, we did have that one kid that brought 0 pieces, and he did what's called skewing the data. So he pulled the mean down because he didn't bring close to what other people brought. And so he lowered the average, because when you redistribute the candy, the kid that didn't bring any is going to get some. So he's going to lower the amount of candy that everybody brought. So again, just to review, finding the mean is 2 steps. We had first, we added everything up. So we found a total, we put all the candy together. And then the second part is redistributing out to everyone, which is dividing by the number of numbers and the number of numbers that you added up. Let me give you another example. Here is an example of temperatures. And the temperatures are in between the 60s and 70s for 5 days. So it's Monday through Friday, degrees Fahrenheit. If I said, what was the mean temperature for this week? That means, what was the average temperature for this week? Well, again, if we think about those 2 steps, we have to first add everything together. So we add up all of the temperatures to get like a total amount of degrees, right? Which is 338 total degrees for the whole week. And then we're going to redistribute those 338 to the 5 days. So we're going to divide it by, we counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. So we're going to divide by 5 this time to redistribute it across 5 days. And what we get is the mean temperature is 67.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Now you'll notice that 67.6 never even showed up. And in fact, there was no decimals even in there, but it doesn't matter. It's just a value that shows up in the middle-ish of the data. The difference between mean and median is that the mean, the average, can be affected by low and high numbers in the data, but it's a redistribution of everything that's there. That's what mean is. If I take everything and put it all together and then redistribute it out to every point, in this case every day, if the temperature was the same every day, then this is what the temperature would be. So that's your last measure of central tendency. I hope this video helped. Time to practice.